Hey everybody, another hot, steamy day here in Kansas. And speaking of hot and steamy, oh, there goes the cat. There was some steamy testimony yesterday. Hey, stay tuned. Hi everybody, Crafting Journey here. That journey took over on Instagram. Welcome to another edition of Crafting and Crime Daily. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. It's Wednesday, Hump Day, and also National French Fry Day. But first, please don't forget to hit the like button. Today, I have asked him to run the vacuum. Now, is he going to do it? I don't know. I've taught him how to do it. Anyway, if you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. And if you're already a subscriber, please consider becoming a member. Also on my regular crafting and crime shows down in the description now, where it says, where you can hit the like button. If you scroll over, if you just look over there, there's a thanks button. That's another way that you can make a one-time donation to the channel that goes to support the content of the channel. And most importantly, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. Yesterday, I uploaded an unboxing, but today, first, I want to, before it gets away from me, oh, it is hot. I want to talk to you about this missing person, Dylan Rounds. I'll just bring you up to speed. This is the 19-year-old young man who just disappeared. He has a small ranch in Lucin, Utah, not far from the Nevada border, a couple hundred miles from Salt Lake City. He was last seen in a saloon in a nearby town, and that's where his last credit card activity was. The last time that anybody heard from him was a couple days after that. Early in the morning, he talks to his grandmother. He says, it's getting ready to rain. I've got to go put the grain truck under the shelter. So they hang up. The grain truck is found under the shelter, so he apparently did that. His work boots, and he only had one pair at a time. His parents said he always wore the same kind of boots, and when they wore out, he would just go get another pair. So his boots were found a few hundred yards in a weird direction. His camper was in an opposite direction. If he had gone from the grain truck to his camper, it would not have been where his shoes were found, his boots. So in any case, that's the story. We've been looking for him. I've been out. Yeah, no. They've been looking for him, since the end of May, 1st of June. No signs, but there is a suspect in custody. And yesterday, the suspect, James Brenner, appeared in court, and Dylan Round's family was in the courtroom to see the proceedings. This was an arraignment on an unrelated charge. This is why he's in custody. He is a felon that was in custody of a weapon. So he pled not guilty to that. So they're going to have a trial on that. But then the next question was, do we allow him to bond out? And there was argument on both sides about whether he's a flight risk. They talked about his background. Apparently, at one point, he beat up a 70-year-old man. He's got a history of carrying weapons. So the judge said, I think you're a flight risk. I'm not letting you have bail. So he's going to remain in custody. Hopefully, he's going to spill the beans about what he did with this Dylan Rounds. This is what the family is hoping, that he'll start talking soon. And the police are hoping for that as well. A lot of times this is a situation where they'll say, hey, we'll give you a deal if you just show us where the body is. That's happened a lot too. We're going to see what's going to happen as this proceeds, but I want to keep you guys updated on it. Now, let's talk about French fries. Yes. Okay, how did they get to be called French fries? And I had some yesterday. Probably will have some today, because this is the day that my friend and I walked to McDonald's for lunch. So I usually get like a small fry. Oh, the French fries at McDonald's are amazing. So how did they become? They didn't come from the French, I don't think. During one of the wars, the Belgian, I don't know. The Belgian soldiers used to bring French fries, or they would bring fries. They would all have fries, and So the soldiers started calling them French fries because Belgians spoke French. So I don't know if that's where it comes from. It was mentioned in a cookbook back in the 1800s. So who knows what the origin of this delicious treat is, but yummy. And what do you like to dip your French fries in? Now, I mix mayonnaise and ketchup together. Delicious. And that's what I dip my French fries in. Not straight up ketchup or mayonnaise. I just mix them together. Do you like ranch? What do you like on your French fries? Let me know. At work, they offer you seasoning to put on your French fries. They have like this Parmesan seasoning that they'll put on your French fries. I don't really care for it. I like it, but they put too much on there, so I usually pass on that. But they make pretty good French fries at work, you know. Who does? When is a French fry ever bad? Have you ever met a bad French fry? No, me neither. Let's talk about the trial, crafting and crime, what you came here for. Day 6 of the Kevin Eastman double murder trial. And I'm telling you, this is not clear cut. This jury is going to be deliberating for a long time because at this point, I don't know who did it. I really don't. Who did it? Who helped? You know, it's a mystery to me. But yesterday they finished the cross-examination of Mr. Bunnell. Now, let me just tell you, because dates are important when I describe this case. So Scott Sessions, a jazz musician over in Colorado, pretty well known over his way, doing very well in the band called the Movers and the Shakers. He had met Heather Frank on a Facebook page. I should be diamond painting, right? He met Heather Frank on a Facebook page. And they started conversing, and they did get together one time, and I don't know what Heather thought of it, but she ghosted him after that. Must not have been the greatest. Anyway, so he keeps texting her, and there was a concert that he did that she did go to with her son, but she didn't contact him while she just didn't get in touch with him. So he messages her the next day and says, hey, were you at the concert? And she says, yes, she was there, and they start talking, and she invites him over. So on February 8th, he goes over to her house, and that is the last time he is seen or heard from again. And we know that he was murdered in the doorway of the house. Someone just come up from behind and slit his throat and killed him. That's February 8th. Now we know from prior testimony that Heather Frank doesn't go to work on February 9th, but does go the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Now the 13th, she's never seen after that date. No one has seen her from that date. Now meanwhile, so he's killed on the 8th, she disappears on the 13th. Her body is found on the 16th on the property of this man, Mr. Bunnell. And the police happened to be at Mr. Bunnell's house investigating the murder of Scott Sessions because this is where Kevin Eastman worked. And they knew that Kevin Eastman was the boyfriend of Heather Frank. They knew that Heather and Scott had a date that night. They knew that Kevin Eastman was her boyfriend that would show up every now and then, and he had showed up on that day. His cell phone pinged at that location on that day. So they go out to Mr. Bunnell's property because he is Kevin's employer. They go out there, and they're got a search warrant. They're searching around, and they find Heather Frank's body in the wood pile. Whoops. Of Mr. Bunnell's property. So I wanted to just kind of lay the groundwork and give you those dates. The 8th, the 13th, they find her body on the 16th. Yeah. So yesterday they finished the cross-examination of Mr. Bunnell. They had examined him all day yesterday, and he didn't look thrilled to come back on the stand. But once again, I don't remember. I don't recall. Okay. But here's a testimony that I didn't talk about yesterday. When he was taken into custody, or when they came out to his house, it was pretty early morning. And we know from the night before, Mr. Bonnell had quite the evening. He had his girlfriend over. She doesn't leave till 3 in the morning. We're going to learn later on today that Kevin Eastman comes by at 6 a.m. I don't know if he actually woke up Mr. Bonnell. I don't know. So Mr. Bonnell's kind of tired. He was sleeping when the police show up. See, he's in his underwear. So they put him in the back of the police vehicle. So later on, they come and they give him a pair of pants to put on. Now, he said they were pants from his dirty laundry, but after he's in the back of the cruiser, he puts the pants on in the back of the cruiser. Then they ask him to get out, and they search him and find 2 bullets in his pants pocket. He's like, I don't know where those came from. And one of the jury is allowed to ask questions. So their question was, are these the pants that you had on the day before? And that you took off to go to sleep in? And he says, I really don't know. I've got a lot of laundry. So he couldn't remember. I mean, how do you remember 3 years later whether those are the pants that you had on? Except that they had 2 bullets in his pocket. Now, why would he have 2 bullet casings? I don't know if it was the bullets or the casings, but why would he have that in his pocket? So strange. So his testimony was pretty quick. Then they put on the testimony of Jennifer Edmonds. Now, this gets juicy here. Now, Jennifer Edmonds is the woman, she's the bookkeeper that was, doing the books and doing Mr. Bonnell. I mentioned this yesterday. So she gets on the stand. Now we find out that this is not her only source of income. She says she has another source of income. This is her secret source of income. Her husband doesn't know she works there and that she's having an affair with Mr. Bonnell. So she waits until her family's asleep, or the kids are asleep or settled down for bed, and then she sneaks out and goes over to Mr. Bonnell's house frequently. And she says first they'll discuss the books, the invoices and everything, and then they'll go to his bedroom. And so there was questions about, well, what time did you go to sleep? And she's like, sleep? We didn't sleep. There was no sleeping going on. And she actually said that. There was no sleeping going on. Now, it wasn't explained, but apparently Mr. Bonnell had a protection order out on her, and the protection order said that she could not be anywhere with Mr. Bonnell. Now, I don't know how that came to exist, but if she's ever caught with Mr. Bonnell, she's subject to arrest and violation of probation for other charges that she's had in the past. So on her way to Mr. Bonnell's house that night, he calls her and he tells her that Kevin Eastman is over, that he's there. And they're going to discuss what it is Kevin Eastman's going to be doing for the business. So she stops and she picks up some energy drinks, and she gets one for Kevin Eastman. She says, oh, we need energy drinks to get through the evening. She goes, I've had a hard day with the kids, and I know I'm not going to get any sleep, so I get myself an energy drink. Okay, that's a funny one. I never thought of that. Now, this relationship that she had with Mr. Bonnell started just a few months after she was employed with him, and went on for several years. She was employed with him for years, and they had this affair. So she says when she gets there, they do discuss the various repairs that need to be done. She said that, Mr. Bonnell had this F-150 that he had tried to get many people to repair. Nobody could seem to fix this truck, and he thought that Kevin Eastman could be the one that would get this truck fixed. After this discussion, she says should they go in the bedroom. Kevin Eastman leaves. It's around midnight-ish that he leaves. They go in the bedroom, and then she sneaks out early in the morning, but she's got to get back home before the kids and her husband wake up. But no sleeping was had. Now, cross-examination, the attorney, she says, now, did you bring the bag of sex toys? Because we know from prior photos of the scene, when the crime scene investigators showed all their photos, there was one photo shown of a very large bag of sex toys on the bed of Mr. Bonnell. So this attorney says, did you bring the sex toys? And the prosecution's objection, relevancy, this, the judge is sustained, not relevant. But that was a line of questioning I wanted to hear. Like, what were you guys doing that night? I mean, come on. And a huge bag of sex toys. Like a duffel bag. Yeah. The next thing we get is Tyler Shaw. He's a sheriff. He is brought in to show a video during the interrogation of Mr. Bonnell. He is told, and we do get to see this video. At some point, he says, the investigator tells Mr. Bonnell, listen, I just found this out, and I think it's something you need to know, but they found a body on your property. And his reaction was, he was like stunned, like very believably stunned. What? That kind of thing. And then he tells him that it's Heather Frank, and he's like beside himself. He's like, and then after he like gets his emotions together, he's like, I didn't have anything to do with it. Yeah, okay. And so it was a pretty short clip. Now, we do know this is the same, the next witness, Mark Geyer, another sheriff, comes in, and he says he did swab Mr. Bonnell's clothing and his hands and arms for gunshot residue. I don't know what the result of that is. I think we're going to hear from a lab later on, because they just collect it and they send it off for processing. So we'll have to hear from the lab later on about what that showed. Then we get an FBI phone analyst on. He's given the phone numbers of Heather Frank, Scott Sessions, Kevin Eastman, and Mr. Bonnell. And he puts them, he knows where all the towers are. He knows where all the relevant, Mr. Bonnell's property, Heather Frank's home, the restaurant where she works. So he's got all this on a map, and he's put where their phones are at certain times on different slides. So the first slide that we see starts on the 8th, February 8th. All three phones, Scott Sessions, Heather Frank, and Kevin Eastman, all three phones are in the vicinity of the Heather Frank home. Now, he can't say an exact location, but he can narrow it down that they're all three pretty much in the same location. And they stay in that same location till the next morning. Now, the last phone call that Scott Sessions makes is about a little after 6 p.m. And then he arrives at the in the Frank location, her home location, around 6:30. Now, all three of these phones during the entire night, there's no activity. There's no phone calls. We don't know about text messages, but there's no in or out phone calls on any of these three phones. But the next morning, we see activity on the Frank phone, Heather Frank's phone, and Scott and Kevin Eastman's phone. And they are both traveling together, going up north towards where the body of Scott Sessions was found. Interesting. She helped him dump the body. She must have been, either she killed him. I think they were both together when Scott Sessions was killed. Either he killed him, she helped cover it up, or she killed him, he helped cover it up. But they both went up there to dump the body. We know that there were tracks of a truck that backed into where the body was, and that there was footprints on either side of where the truck would have been that led to the body and back. So I think we can get Kevin Eastman on the murder of Scott Sessions. But who kills Heather Frank? I don't know. So over the next few days, we see Heather Frank's phone at her residence, at her place of employment. We see Kevin Eastman's phone at Heather Frank's residence, at the Bunnell site where he's supposed to be working. Now, Mr. Bunnell's testimony was that when Scott doesn't show up on the 11th, he goes looking for them. And on the 11th, his phone does ping in the area of her home. So that's consistent with his testimony. Right. So let's fast forward to the day of the 15th. Now, the testimony was that Mr. Bunnell was having his friend over, and he called her to say that Kevin Eastman was going to be there too. So we know that Kevin Eastman's phone was there from around a little after 5 till about midnight. But we also know from his phone that he showed up again there the next morning around 6. So we don't know where he went after that last ping at around 6 a.m. on Bunnell's property, because his phone just drops off. No more signals from his phone. Yeah. Now here's the interesting thing. On cross-examination, they were asking, the attorneys were asking this FBI agent, did you get this such and such phone number? And he says, no. We know from prior testimony that Mr. Bunnell had more than one phone. He had a burner phone. Now, did he give this burner phone to Eastman? I don't know. I don't know if you can track a burner phone. It appears that you probably can't, or they would have, but it makes me think that Eastman picked up a burner phone that morning of the 15th, or it would have been the 16th, because he was there the 15th going into the morning of the 16th. He comes there around 6 a.m. I'm wondering if he got a burner phone at that point. Then we know the police show up a few hours later to search the property related to the murder of Scott Sessions, not knowing that the body of Heather Frank is on that property. Now, when did that get there? I don't know. Now, we know that in between the last time she was seen, the 13th and the 15th, that there's some activity where Kevin Eastman drives up by a lake and spends some amount of time there. Because here's what we don't know. We don't know where she was murdered. There's no crime scene related to the murder of Heather Frank. There's no weapon. There's no crime scene. Yeah, interesting. So there was another witness that testified after this FBI agent. I didn't get it because things were chaos at work. This is why I like to work from home. My coworker, which we'll make twice this week. Oh no, maybe it was once last week. Well, anyway, she comes in and she says, I'm going to go have lunch and I'm going to go grab some coffee. I'm like, okay. So she comes back with her 7-year-old. And says, oh, the YMCA called me. He's at some camp. They called me. He was misbehaving. So she brings him to our place. Now, simultaneously, there is a mouse running around our office. And just for the last few days. And we've had maintenance come up and they put some traps down. But every now and then we'll see or hear this mouse. Now, I haven't seen it, but... So the 7-year-old sets up traps in the office for the mouse. So, and at one point he does see the mouse. So, like, all hell's breaking loose. And, you know, impossible to get any work done. I was trying. I really was trying, because I think all I need is for my boss to walk in here and everybody's chasing this freaking mouse around. I'm going to be at my desk working, because you know the history there. And I really I'm really trying to get this project done that I'm working on. And yesterday it was like, my nerves were like, at one point I had to get up and go for a walk, because I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So that's what's happening at work. Oh, I did this symbol yesterday and I forgot I see something I missed. Don't you hate that? So I'm actually working back in the greenery. Yeah, up in here. Back to the green stuff. I finished a lot of the house. I still have like the front porch to go. But I did work on this for maybe about an hour last night while I finished up listening to the FBI agent's testimony. So what happened this day in history? This is in 2015. Sandra Bland dies in jail. Now here's what happened. She is pulled over by a trooper and she refuses. It's just a traffic stop, I think. She failed to signal a lane change. So he pulls her over. No profiling going on here. Pulls her over. She refuses to cooperate with him. She's smoking a cigarette and he's telling her to put the cigarette out, get out of the vehicle, and it's all on camera. She's like, nope, not going to do it. So he's, a struggle ensues. He throws her to the ground, arrests her, puts her in jail. 3 days later, now why is this woman in jail for 3 days for a lane change? Well, I guess by now it's assaulting a police officer. But anyway, day 3, they come to bring her breakfast, and she has hung herself with a plastic bag. What? This became one of the cases cited in the Black Lives Matters movement. This was also the anniversary of the hashtag Black Lives Matter, coincidentally. The jail was found to have been ignoring protocols regarding prisoner observation. And in 2017, Texas passed what they call the Sandra Bland Act, which attempts to educate police officers about mental illness and de-escalation, and mandates that jails divert people with mental illness to treatment. Now, I don't know that they would have known she was mentally ill or required treatment, but they certainly were not observing her. That's the show for today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday, that we get through it and we'll move on to the rest of the week. And I will see you tomorrow. Oh, tonight is Craft With Me Wednesday. What should I do? Now, I did loom knitting last week. I think it's time to do watercolors again. Let's get out the watercolors. Yeah. All right. I'll see you tonight, 6 p.m. Central. If not, if you're just into the crime, I'll see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime. Take care, everybody. Bye.